So this issue affects all marketplaces out there, and if you don't solve it, your marketplace is unfortunately going to die. If you have ever tried to build and launch an online marketplace, you probably encountered this issue. No buyers without sellers, no sellers without buyers. The classic chicken and the egg issue. This issue kills most online marketplaces before they even get going. In this video, I'll break down exactly what this problem is, why it's a huge deal, and the top strategies in order to solve this issue. So what exactly is the chicken and the egg issue? Well, let's say that someone launches a marketplace for renting out your spare desk. Who's that idiot that made that marketplace? That's like the worst idea ever. Okay, I admit it, I was actually the idiot who made that marketplace, and I thought it was a great idea, but it turned out it was not. I only managed to get one listing, and that was my self listing actually. But it actually illustrates the chicken and the egg issue really well. You're not gonna get any buyers if you only have one listing, and how are you gonna get more listings if you don't have any buyers? Similarly, imagine a store with no customers, or someone waiting for a taxi but there are no taxis, or someone made a profile on Tinder but got no matches. All the same issue. And the thing is, this issue actually affects all marketplaces out there. Let's look at Airbnb for instance. If there are no homes, there are no guests. If there are no guests, there are no homes on Airbnb. And then let's look at Uber for instance. If there are no riders, there are no taxis. If there are no taxis, there are no riders. So this issue affects all marketplaces out there, and if you don't solve it, your marketplace is unfortunately going to die. But don't worry, because in this video I'm gonna give you the 15 ultimate strategies on how to solve this issue. Let's do it. Most successful marketplaces focuses on one side first, and usually that one is the supply side. So Uber, they got drivers before riders. Airbnb, they got listings before guests. So focus on one side first and make that work. If you don't have a supply side, buyers will just leave, and vice versa. Don't try and be the next Amazon immediately, focus on a niche instead. So for instance, Facebook initially only launched to Harvard students. Airbnb only launched in one city. So focus on a small engaged audience first. And actually I would say the more niche you can go, the better. For NinjaBuzz, the marketplace that I made for selling host-read ads to podcasters, initially actually it was launched as just selling ads to podcasters. But then I found out that actually people wanted to buy and sell host-read podcast ads. So that's where I pivoted into. Have you ever wondered how so many marketplaces early on get a lot of listings suddenly? Well, that's probably because they actually fake these listings. So that's also one thing you can do, but you have to be careful, because if people find out, of course, they're gonna leave your marketplace. But Airbnb did this early on. They made a lot of fake listings to make it look more alive, basically. Also, Match.com has been known for actually creating fake women profiles on their platform. Yes, you actually heard that right. So some of the biggest marketplaces out there, they've been known for, initially at least, stealing from other marketplaces in order to get their supply side sorted. So for instance, the Airbnb founders, they admitted to having written lots of people on Craigslist initially to get them to also list on Airbnb to get their supply side sorted. So this is definitely a way you can grow initially, but again, you just have to be careful. You can get banned or something even worse. Another very shady one is to basically lie about something in order to get the supply side sorted, right? So examples of this that I've seen is to basically lie about that you're about to get funded. So if all these people list on your marketplace, then you would fund them in the near future. So that one will work if you are very certain that you will actually get funded. But the problem is that if you then get all these people to list on your marketplace and you don't get funded, then you're screwed, right? Because all these people that listed on your marketplace, they of course expect to be funded then by you to get some financial support, right? So they are just gonna leave your marketplace then and also talk bad about your marketplace afterwards, right? So you really have to be careful about this one. Within all marketplaces, there's always a whale or 2 or 5 that you should find initially, figure out who they are, and then treat them as kings. So for instance, for NinjaBuzz, I figured out who the podcasters were that knew all the other podcasters. So of course, I quickly set up interviews with these guys. I did blog posting about them, even though I didn't have a big following at that time, but still I was doing interviews with them, doing blog posts about them, being very quickly, of course, with answering emails and so on. So just like do everything in order to keep them satisfied so that they are going to talk nicely about you and your marketplace to their community. So this one is a really good one and actually a very important one. And actually I did the same for Nordic Mugs. I saw in all these Facebook groups that there was one person that was super active in replying and also in posting. So I reached out to her, got her to list on Nordic Mugs, and then she started sending me a lot of feedback on improvements for the marketplace. And I was super fast in replying to all her emails and also doing all the changes that she was basically recommending me doing. So again, that's a very good way to basically get her to talk positively about your marketplace. Yeah, this one is actually relatively simple, right? So if you have the money, then you can basically pay people to join, right? So that's actually what Uber did in the beginning. They were paying drivers to join Uber. And I think also OpenTable did the same thing, right? So this one, of course, requires VC money in order to do this. But if you somehow manage to get VC money before actually launching, then this is definitely a way to get the supply side sorted. And this one is also a great one, right? And it does require a little bit of creativity, but if you can figure out a way to build a supplementary product that actually provides value before you have the marketplace actually up and running, right? So if you can get people in and actually provide them value without having the marketplace first, that's great because then you already have the traffic, right? So LinkedIn did this before they had both sides actually on their marketplace. They had a resume builder for people that could come in and then fix or build their resumes. So that was already providing value to these users, and then eventually they got both sides to their marketplace, right? So if you can figure out a way to build a supplementary product, I would definitely recommend you doing that. And this one is probably my favorite one of all the ones I have for you today, right? So if you can figure out in a creative way to create a marketplace that is so dramatically different from what is already out there, then you're gonna get both sides to your marketplace immediately, basically, right? So examples of this is Napster. Before Napster, I don't know if you're old enough to remember this. I'm old, as you can hear. But Napster, that was a platform for basically downloading music for free. So within a couple of weeks, they had both sides already on their marketplace. Then there's Canva. Before Canva, it was very difficult to do all these graphic design. Initially, everything was free, and I think they still actually have a free tier. So they also got both sides sorted out very quickly. And then within trading, actually, there is Robinhood. Before Robinhood came, it was always costing money to trade stocks or bonds or crypto or whatever, right? So what Robinhood did was to make it free, basically. And that also got them, both of their sides, sorted very quickly, right? And now they are a multi-billion-dollar company, right? So if you can figure out how to actually come up with a creative way of doing this, I would definitely recommend that. People want what they can't have. We are all idiots, we are all lemmings, right? So that's just a fact. So if you can create FOMO around your marketplace initially, that's gonna be a huge driver to get both sides sorted. And the best example of this is Clubhouse. They launched during COVID, and they got Elon Musk to be one of the first users on their marketplace. And they had this waiting list. So you had to be invited in order to be part of this marketplace. And I remember that I really wanted to be part of this marketplace. So finally I got an invite, and then I joined, and yeah, that was it, right? I didn't really use it much, but I do remember that I really wanted to join at that time. Maybe it was also because it was COVID time and I was super bored. But anyway, if you can figure out a way to create FOMO for your marketplace, that's going to be a huge driver for you, and you're going to get both sides sorted quickly. So this one is actually relatively simple, right? So you want to find communities where you can launch your marketplace once you made it, right? So Reddit is awesome for this. There's so many subreddits within pretty much all niches. So find the niche that fits to your marketplace and launch there to get at least the first initial users, usually for the supply side. So, and then after you launched on one forum, launch on another one afterwards. If you know an influencer or someone within your marketplace niche that has a large following, you should try and get him to basically be part of your company. Maybe you should even give him a share of your company, right? Because that's going to help so much when you launch. An example of this, which is actually not a marketplace, but Clerk for Out, they got Theo, the YouTuber, to be part of the company. I don't know how much he owns, but he owns some part of Clerk, and he's posting about Clerk regularly, so much that I'm also using Clerk now, so it worked, right? Another one within the marketplace area is GamerPay. GamerPay is a marketplace for buying and selling skins for gamers. So they launched initially on a Facebook forum that one of the co-founders, he was the one managing that Facebook forum, and he was also the one who had built that community to more than 100k users, right? So of course he had a huge influence on that forum, right? So by launching there, they managed to get the supply side sorted very quickly. You can also try and host physical events. So by, for instance, using meetup.com, you can make an event and then try and get users to come to the event and get them to afterwards join your marketplace. This one is not scalable though, but it does give you direct feedback from the people that are gonna attend your events. And also it might also create a lot of loyalty. If you can connect your launch date with some seasonal event or some kind of happening out there, then do that, because that might create a little bit more buzz around your launch. So a couple of examples of this was Airbnb. They launched on a big conference somewhere in US. Clubhouse, they launched during COVID, as I said before. So again, if you can find some kind of event out there that makes sense to wait for and then launch on that event or that happening date, then do that. But if you can't, then I would say just launch. Sometimes you can find a market where the users that are going to be joining your marketplace are actually fit for both sides, right? So for instance, for NinjaBuzz, the marketplace that I made for buying and selling host-read podcast ads. So I got a lot of podcasters listing their podcast, so on the supply side, but actually many of these were also interested in buying from other podcasters because they wanted to drive traffic or listeners into their podcast from other podcasters. So sometimes you can actually find a market where when you get users to list, they actually fit both sides, and that's just gonna make it easier for you actually. So the way that I did it for my 3 marketplaces was for Nordic Mugs. I launched on a lot of different Facebook groups because I could see that there was a lot of activity going on in there within the niche area, buying and selling Moomin mugs. And I could also see that there was one person that was super active, so I partnered up with her and she gave me a lot of feedback that I then implemented on the marketplace. For NinjaBuzz, I launched on Reddit because there was a big community there, and that gave me around 50 to 70 initial listings. So that kind of sold the supply side, and then afterwards I figured out that they were actually interested in buying from each other, right? So I kind of had both sides sorted already. And then for My Spare Desk, you might have seen this in one of my other videos, I completely failed, right? So I tried launching on Reddit, on Hacker News, and on Product Hunt, and I didn't even get one single listing. The only listing that there is actually my own. But that's how it is sometimes, right? So the key lesson here is that marketplaces are hard. It's not an easy business. You're not always gonna get the chicken and the egg issue solved, but I really hope that these strategies that I just mentioned are at least gonna help you somewhat in your journey. So if you're interested in marketplace building and launching marketplaces, remember to check out my boilerplate on quickly launching a marketplace MVP. It's called Speed with Marketplace. And also, if you like these videos, then please go ahead and Maybe comment if you have another point that I didn't mention, but you can also go ahead and subscribe and like this video, of course. That's really gonna help. Thank you so much and see you in the next one. Bye.